So, my baby is almost a year old, and we've been on 17 flights, ranging from 1 to 9 hours long. And in this video, I'm going to share a few tips I wish I knew when I was traveling with him as a newborn. And the last one still holds true today. Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm a postpartum planner, helping women be intentional about their pregnancy and blossom into the version of themselves that motherhood calls for. So, grab a cup of something good for you, and let's get into it. Let's start with why I was running around the globe with a newborn in the first place. Early on, I learned that I was at a higher than average risk of developing postpartum depression. So I spent a lot of my pregnancy preparing for postpartum. One piece of advice I kept coming across was to keep up with at least one thing that would keep me connected to my old self. For me, it was travel. I had made a commitment to myself to travel internationally at least 2 to 3 times a year and even work in the airline industry a couple of times just to make that possible. When I kept coming across videos of women traveling with their newborns, I thought, hey, I could do it. I ran with the idea of spending part of my maternity leave abroad. So, pregnant me committed first time mom me to a month-long trip across Europe with a newborn. Knowing what I know now, I still would have gone, but there are a few changes I would have made, including switching one of my destinations. There is so much more happening behind the scenes than what a lot of these videos online are showing. So I'm bringing you all the information in hopes that you'll be better prepared, especially when it comes to tip number 5. If you plan to get TSA pre-check for your newborn, start the process of getting your baby's passport immediately. You can't get your known ID without an interview. And yes, there is an interview for your newborn baby. You can't schedule the interview without completing the application. You can't complete the application without a passport. You can't get a passport without a birth certificate. And at least in my state, you don't get the birth certificate until 1 to 2 weeks after the baby is born. In addition to that, at least in my state, so double check your state, whoever is listed on the birth certificate has to show up to the passport appointment. So if you and your spouse are both on the birth certificate, then you both have to be present with the baby at the passport appointment. Same thing for the TSA pre-check interview. Also, not all CVS pharmacies have working photo studios. So don't try to do a walk in on the same day as your passport interview because you might walk into your local CVS and find out that they don't have an operable photo studio. It is a hassle to say the least. So the earlier you start the process, the better. Trust me. Learn from my mistakes. Even if you don't have any immediate travel plans like we did, if you even think you will have plans, it's worth starting early because the TSA interviews get booked up so quickly. And although there are some airports that will let you do your interview right before you leave or when you come back from your international trip, I recommend just having all your paperwork done before that so you're not stressing about that on top of everything else you have to prepare before you fly out. I've also heard that some countries require you to travel with your baby's birth certificate so that they can confirm that you're the parents. So if you can afford to get more than one copy of your birth certificate, I recommend you do that as well so that you just have that in your back pocket. If your budget allows for it, always choose the path of most convenience whenever possible. That might mean taking a nonstop flight, choosing the flight time that doesn't disrupt your routine too much, purchasing the extra space seating, checking your bags on a nonstop flight so you have less to carry in the airport, getting access to airport lounges. Travel is already stressful as it is, so every bit of convenience that you can afford is just going to make the experience that much easier and that much smoother for you and your baby. Also, think about whether you need to pay for an extra night depending on when you actually arrive to your destination. We arrived at our first destination at 5 in the morning, but our check-in for our Airbnb wasn't until 4 p.m. So, although our host was able to accommodate us for a 2 p.m. check-in, we spent a lot of idle time waiting in the car, and that was hard for me. In hindsight, we should have paid for the night before so that we could get access to our Airbnb immediately upon arrival. So, if you're arriving super early and you can swing it, pay for an extra day so you can access your accommodations whenever you want. Plan for the first day to be super chill. Thankfully, I had the foresight to assume that the travel day was going to take us out, and it did. So I scheduled a rest day at the start of our trip, and it was the right call. I remember us sleeping for most of the day, and that was the reset we needed in order to actually be ready to kickstart our vacation. Babies get overstimulated really easily. So see your itinerary as a very ambitious, maybe we'll do it. This was something I didn't see a lot of people talk enough about. A lot of people talked about, during a newborn stage, it's easier to travel because they're always sleeping. And yes, traveling with a newborn is easy because they are sleepy and they're largely immobile. But the cycle of their needs, feeding, changing, playtime, napping, is happening a lot more often in a day. So, depending on how you space out what you're trying to do, you'll likely be spending an extra 30 minutes to an hour at every stop to feed, change, or put the baby back to sleep over and over again. I don't think I watched anything that helped me internalize that. My husband and I were fortunate enough to have grandma with us, but the three of us rarely got to see any attractions together. Instead, we took turns so that someone could start the process with baby while giving the other two a chance to take in the view. And by the time we were all together again, baby was ready to go back to sleep so that we could get to our next destination. We definitely had to come up with a process, but once we did, it was a lot easier to maneuver. I say all that to say, if you get to even one thing on your list, you've had a successful day. But if you could be even more relaxed about your itinerary and just go with the flow, it'll be an even better experience. This one, this one right here is what I needed to know. Kid friendly does not equal baby or even toddler friendly. I learned that the hard way. I was so focused on our destination being kid friendly when what I really should have zeroed in on was whether or not it was baby friendly. I did extensive research about whether our destination was kid friendly when I really should have been focused about whether or not it was baby friendly. Because what I failed to realize is kids need different things at different ages. I know it makes sense now, but at the time, I really wasn't thinking that. And as a first time mom to a newborn, I was better off making sure it was friendly to what served me, since baby was either in a carrier or in a stroller whenever we were out and about. So, if you're thinking about taking a trip with your newborn, I hope this video helped you plan and feel more prepared for the trip. Remember, you and your baby have never done this before. So, have a lot of grace for yourself, and I will see you in another video.